Welcome to Loving Life's Journey with your host, Linda Wilson. Loving Life's Journey is a heartwarming show that explores the simple pleasures and profound moments that make life worth living. Linda will share stories of hope, resilience, and the power of human connection, celebrating the joys that bind us together. Loving Life's Journey is your invitation to revel in the beauty of everyday miracles and the love that surrounds us all. So now, please welcome the host of Loving Life's Journey, Linda Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Hump Day. I'm Linda Wilson, and welcome to Loving Life's Journey. Hope you're having a great day so far. Today, I wanted to kind of share with you some thoughts about perspective and how to keep a positive perspective. And when I say a positive perspective, I'm not talking about the Pollyanna pie in the sky, everything is wonderful perspective, because life doesn't work that way. But there are ways to take what's going on around you and in you and with you, and making sure you don't get lost in the negative side of things. For me, it's important because, especially now, um, there's a lot going on trying to make us divided, and we are much better when we are united. And having a different perspective on things is how we learn, it's how we grow. Um, One of the things I've been able to do in my lifetime is I did photography for most of my life, and I did it as a business for about 5 years before I had to step away from that. And because I had carried a camera with me most of my life, I had learned how to just make a quick shift in where the camera's pointing or where I'm standing to change the perspective on what I'm looking at. And when you think about it, I use an old-fashioned camera, a DSLR, that, you look through the viewfinder. I didn't use the screen much. I liked the feel of bringing the camera up to my eye, focusing in on what I was focusing in on, and getting the shots that I was trying to get. I found that just a small shift in either the angle of the camera or me stepping to the side a little bit gave a completely different perspective and photograph. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is I did an experiment with some kids. I got to do a career fair for middle school, and I took I took some items with me, some stuffed toys, some glass beads, and some other things, and set them on a table. And I took about 4 different cameras. I had extra cameras that I took, and I invited the kids to take pictures of the items. And, you know, same items, same cameras, but completely different photographs. And let me show you what I mean if I can. So the kids, these are the items I took, and the kids picked up the cameras and they walked around, and some took these pictures, same things, different angles. Some took these pictures, and it just shows that how you look at things is different. One of the kids even took the camera and walked around the arena and took pictures of the event. So perspective is in the eye of the beholder. And I know that sounds trite and that sounds, very, very simple. Um, but when we look at things, we want to look at things in such a way that we can focus in, but we also need to see the big picture. And for me, what photography showed me was that while I was focusing in on something that didn't change what was going on in the big picture, and there were times that I took photos that I captured something I didn't even know was there. And that's because I was so focused in on the one item I was taking a picture of that I missed all that was going on in the background. And so then I'd, get home, plug in the chip, and I'd look at the photos and it'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that, or I didn't even notice that. Or, you know, you hear people doing it all the time with their phones. You get a photo bomb, you take a picture, and then there's somebody in the background waving or doing something silly. And it's because we're so focused in on what's right in front of us. And one of the things I used to notice, you know, when my husband and I would travel, and that was one of the blessings of being a photographer. Every every vacation could turn into a kind of a work trip because I was taking tons of photos, and we went to Hawaii, and we were on a whale watching cruise, and I had my camera, and we got really lucky. There was a very young whale, and he decided to hang out by our boat. So I was getting all these amazing shots, and then I thought, okay, how many pictures do I need? Put the camera down and just enjoy being in this space with this magnificent mammal. And mom was not too far away, and they would talk to each other. They'd put the little microphone in the water, and you hear them sing to each other. And it was just incredible. And I thought, camera down, live the experience. The camera allowed me to get the memories, but the real memories were how I was feeling being in that space. And so it prompted me to offer a different side to my business than I had originally thought of. And that was I would travel with people, and I would teach them how to take great photos, but then I would also be their photographer for their trip so that they could learn. A lot of people would buy those, the big Canon cameras and the Nikons, and they'd be going on vacation, so they wanted to get a nice camera, and they bought these cameras, and then they didn't have time to figure out how to use them, and they were spending their time on vacation trying to figure out how to use the camera to get the best shot, and they were missing the reason they were on the vacation. So what I offered was the ability to go. I would teach them how to use the camera. We'd meet beforehand. And then I would go with them and help them with the camera so that they could take great pictures. But then I would take the pictures for them so that they could enjoy the reason that they went to Italy, or the reason that they went to on a cruise, or the reason that they went to the Grand Canyon with their family. To be part of the experience, not be taking pictures of the experience. And that was a perspective that a lot of people didn't quite understand at first. And it's like, why would someone pay you to go and do that? Well, because when you go on a trip, it's not just about taking the pictures on the trip, it's to experience the whole experience. Um, I've got an amazing friend who's an amazing photographer. His name is Christian Del Rosario, and he takes people on photography safaris in Africa. He takes them to see the gorillas, and I believe he's got a trip coming up early next year to the pyramids in Egypt. And these are photography experiences. You go, you take pictures with him. He takes you right in, and he'll help you get the best pictures, but then he's getting pictures. So you get to actually experience being on the safari, not just behind the camera on a safari. And I think that is just such an important aspect that we forget in life, is that we're not just here to live vicariously through the experiences of our camera and the experiences, with these things, we can document all the time. But when we're documenting, we're forgetting to live an experience. And one of the things I think is so important is changing our perspective on how we choose to live our experiences. And that's one of the things that I work so hard to do, is to make sure that my perspective is my perspective. It doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's how I see things with my eyes, how I feel things with my feelings. That's not everybody. That's my experience. And I've learned in my life that my experience is not the same as everyone else's. Even someone who's been through an experience with me, we get different things from it. So instead of it being all about my experience, I'm going to take what my experience was and what someone else's experience was, and let's blend them together and get that whole picture. And that's a lot of what perspective is where are you now? Where are you looking? Where are you heading? What are you experiencing? And knowing that it's not going to be the same for you as it is for everybody else. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. We don't all have to have the same perspective. We don't all have to have the same experience. We don't all have to get the same feeling out of instances in our life. We're individuals, we're unique. We have a unique offering that we bring to the world. And we have a unique perspective on what we're getting from the world. We can tweak that perspective, we can make it more meaningful by how we choose to look at it. And I think that's key. For example, yesterday was actually the first full day of fall, and I live in Denver, and it rained all day, and it was cool. We had been in the upper 70s, low 80s up until then, and it was only in the 50s yesterday, and it rained all day. But you know what? It was beautiful. It was peaceful. We needed the moisture, and it means fall is coming. The weather's changing. We're into that next season of life. And I don't know about you guys, but when it rains, that's my best sleep. So I did have a hard time getting up yesterday because it was raining. And all I could hear was the rain falling on the leaves and falling on the roof. And I thought, that's the white noise I use to fall asleep at night. It's the rain and thunder showers. I didn't have the thunder. But I had to remind myself that that wasn't my app, that was real, and it was time to get up. And it's not often we don't have sunshine here. We get over 300 days of sunshine a year here in Denver, and it was a different perspective. I could have looked at it and say, "Oh, what a gloomy day," but it was so refreshing. That smell of rain? When I walked outside to go to my first meeting, it was like, the smell of the rain. It was like everything was clean. Everything was refreshed, and it was wonderful, and it wasn't like downpour rain. It was just rain, just nice filtering rain. So we're going to take a quick break, and when I come back, let's look a little bit more about what it means to change your perspective and different ways we can do that. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. If you're getting some value from what you're hearing today, please give us a like, give us a follow, and give us a share. And today we're talking about perspective. And I mentioned earlier, perspective isn't correct or incorrect. It's a very unique individual experience. And when you look at it, think about like why maybe after an accident, people give the witness statements, they're different. Or maybe there was a crime or something happening, and the witness statements are different. And it's not that somebody's lying. It's just that they saw something different or they perceive something different. And, I talked earlier about that experiment with the middle school kids, and they all had cameras and they all were at the same event and they all had the same items to take pictures of, but the pictures came out very, very different. And it was because they were standing in a different place. They were seeing things through different eyes. And even when we are witnesses to something, what we see and witness could be clouded by our past experiences. And so, take an accident, for example. My husband and I got rear-ended one evening, and nobody was hurt. It wasn't bad, but they came out and they asked for different statements. And we were right in front of a gas station, so they were talking to the people that had been getting gas at the gas station. And all of them saw it happen, but they saw different things. Like one gentleman thought that, they sped up and rammed us. We were at a red light and the light had just changed and we were starting to go through. So nobody was going fast. They were behind us at the light and they just went faster than we did. It wasn't like they were, he made it sound like they, had their foot to the floor, and no, they weren't racing. They weren't, gunning their engine or any of that. But what he saw from over there made to him look like they were really going fast, which they couldn't because we had both been sitting at a red light. Another person thought that it looked like we rolled backwards. Well, my car was an automatic, so it wasn't a clutch. I didn't take my foot off the clutch and I didn't roll backwards. We had all these different people and they had all of these weird differences in the statements. And again, it's not because somebody's lying or making something up. They're they're telling you what they've seen, but it's clouded by their past experience. It's clouded by what could be in the way. They were at the gas station, but they all weren't standing in the exact same spot. They were in different stalls. One was walking out to the corner to talk to somebody. Perspective changes when you make a very slight change. Let me give you an example. I went for a walk in the mountains one year and was taking, as a photographer, I was taking pictures of Mount Baldy up in from the park in Grand Lake. And it was, I took some stunning photos. And one was a beautiful picture of Mount Baldy. There was a meadow. There was water in, lake on the meadow there. There was water. And there was some reflection of the clouds and everything. And that was nice, but I took a small step to the left and turned just a little bit, and the photograph that came out was so much better. It was the full reflection of the mountain and the sky in the lake on the meadow. And it was you have to look really hard to tell which is the real and which is the reflection. And all that took was a small shift. Changing your perspective doesn't mean you have to change your whole life. Doesn't mean you have to change everything to do with everything you're doing. It just means stepping back and taking another look at things from a different angle, from a different side. There's an exercise that I give to my clients, and I don't remember who I heard the exercise from. It was not my idea, so I want to give credit, but I can't remember who I got it from. If you're working on a problem, what you do is you write the problem down on a big piece of paper and you set it in the middle of the table. And you sit down and you look at it and you start coming up with, write down any ideas that come for solutions to that problem. And when you run out of solutions or ideas, all the ones you're getting are not quite what you're looking for, get up and move. Leave the paper where it is. You move to a different spot in the table and look at it from a different angle. And almost every time you do that, you're going to immediately get the solution you're looking for. I've done this so many times because when we get stuck in where we are looking at things, we're not going to be able to change what we see, how we look at things. You think about, this is this isn't just my studio, this is my office. This is where I spend a tremendous amount of my time during my day. I'm recording, I'm doing Zoom meetings, I am meeting with clients, and a lot of what I do is virtual. So I am in this spot, I would say a good 6 hours a day or more, depending on, if I have meetings that I'd leave for, or if I get involved in my work, I could be up here 10, 12 hours easy. But if I'm stuck on a problem, sitting in this chair, looking at this computer, having this version of what's around me, I need to shake it up. I need to move. I need to, you know, go for a walk, get outside, get some fresh air. Sometimes just getting that sunshine when I've been sitting in my office, getting that fresh air when I've been sitting in my office gives me a different perspective. And sometimes just sometimes I just go down to another part of my office. Sometimes that's, like, all I need to do is get something different in my sight to trigger a solution, to trigger an idea, to trigger something that I could try. That doesn't always mean it's the solution, but it gives me something else to think about, to look at, to try instead of the same things that surround me all the time. Think about a time you were stuck. Think about a time that you feel like you've been banging your head against the wall trying to come up with an answer. I would say do the paper experiment. Certainly, this, can't be any worse than pounding your head against the wall. You know, I'm one who has many bruises from pounding my head against the wall. I'm a real good. I was a headbanger in my youth, and I'm a headbanger in my older years. Just a different kind of headbanging, and it's not as fun. Um, but just think about ways that you can take a moment to refresh so that you can get a new perspective, a new thought on things. One of the things I do with my clients is I help them find little pockets of time for themselves during their day. So if if you work in an office and you're always in the same place, surrounded by the same people and the same things, and you need to spark a new idea or find a new solution for something that you're working on, one of the one of the easiest things to do is, everybody gets bio breaks. Take a bio break. Now with, hopefully you can go to the restroom without being disturbed. I know one of the places I worked, I had a lady follow me into the bathroom and I said, give me 5 minutes. This is my time. And it was a place to change my perspective. It got me out of my cubicle, away from all the people that I worked with. And one of the things I used to do was just go out and walk around the parking lot. I haven't smoked in years. I quit smoking in my mid-20s. And so back when, I don't know if it's as prominent now, but back in the day when people were smoking at work, they were able to take smoke breaks and go outside and smoke. So I thought, well, I don't smoke, but I can go outside and I can take a quick walk. And I would walk around the parking lot, or we were right next to a neighborhood, so I could just walk across the parking lot, take a quick walk around the block in the neighborhood by us and come back, and I could do that in 15 minutes. So I could take my break and go for a walk, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, step away from the problem or the thing that I was working on. And sometimes I would go out looking for a solution. That did not always work because I was still stuck in the arena of problem solving. But if I went out and took a walk, put my headphones in and listened to music, many times I would come back and I would get an answer because I let my brain break free for a little bit. And so that's another way that you can change your perspective is change your surroundings for a moment. Now, if you work from home, you know, sometimes doing laundry, go down, switch the load. Takes 5 minutes, then go back to your office and refresh. Go sit in your backyard for a few minutes. Um, I know sometimes I just go down to the kitchen and walk around a little bit, maybe try to decide what I'm going to have for lunch. But those are some different things that you can do to change your perspective. And when we come back, we'll talk about some more. Don't go away.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a great Wednesday morning. Happy Hump Day. It was my brother's least favorite day because my brother's name was Mike. Do you remember the commercials with the camel that would go around? Hey Mike, what day is it? What day is it? Hey Mike. He used to hate that. We used to do that to him. Just a little zip off to the old side there. So what I wanted to share with you a little bit is one of the ways we can help change our perspective is kind of work on our mindset. Because many times we see what we expect to see, and we get what we expect to get. So one of the ways we can change our perspective is to change our mindset and to change our expectations. Now, when we're seeing and we're expecting things that are good for us, that's great. Don't stop doing that. But many times we see or expect what we don't want, and then we get it and we wonder, well, why does this always happen to me? Well, what are you focused on? What are you putting out there as your expectation of what you want to get? And one of the biggest examples that I can think of is I've had 3 open heart surgeries in my life, and I went through a period in my life where I suffered a lot of loss. I lost my brother, and then a year later, I lost my husband. And I went into very deep depression. I literally sat on my couch, curled up in a ball for 18 months. And then as I started coming out of my depression, I noticed my physical, like I had no stamina. And I thought I had played the pity party so much that I had lost all of my physical strength. And I was in for my checkup on my heart, and the ultrasound came back that my aortic valve wasn't working properly and I wasn't getting blood and oxygen to my body properly. And I was like, oh, I didn't do this to myself. And they said, well, we need to do another open heart surgery. And I don't know. I think I'm the only person I know that was looking forward to that. I came out of that open heart surgery feeling and doing better than when I went in. I was prepared for 8 weeks of needing help, 8 weeks of not being able to do things. Now I had to restrict myself, but of just not being able to do things like, when I had the other surgeries, my mom would come out and take care of me, and she'd have to wash my hair. She'd have to help me shower. She'd have to have, and I didn't have any of that this time. And it was it was like a 180. It's like, oh my gosh, I hadn't felt that good since before my first surgery. And it just opened up a whole new outlook on my life. So instead of feeling sorry for myself and sitting on the couch and woe is me, and I had gone to visit my brother in Spokane, and we were running around doing stuff, but I was really slow. I didn't look like I had physical problems. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, I think I'm just, I let myself get out of shape. Let's keep going." And to go into that surgery knowing that I was going to feel so much better when I came out was truly life-changing, at least for me. So think about things that might be going on around you, with you, or with people that you know and love, where you can kind of change the outlook of what the outcome could be. For me, because I had had two before, the first one was complete surprise. I had an aortic dissection, and it was emergency surgery. And then 2 years later, they said, well, we're seeing some more issues. We need to go in and do some more repair. And so they did that. And it's not that I felt bad afterwards, it's just I didn't feel refreshed. But this third one was like, oh, wow, look what I've been missing for the last 10 years. And I did have some other illnesses and things that went on with that. I will tell you that being allergic to opiates, coming out coming out of surgery is always such an adventure. Because the kind of surgery they were doing, I still had to take. They still had to give me what they had to, I think they oxycodone and something else. But as I was coming out, they were weaning me off because I was waking up. I was hallucinating big time and didn't realize I was hallucinating. And so that was really an adventure. And now, now that I know that I do that when I have surgery, I just know I'm going to see and hear things that aren't really there. I freaked out. I thought I was, my dad had Parkinson's, and I thought, am I early stage Parkinson's? And it ends up it's just the effects of the opiates leaving my body, and I'm trying to work through the fog. I thought people were having conversations about me that weren't going on. I thought there were people in a room behind a wall that were watching me and talking about what's going on. I thought there was a game being played in the hospital, that they were playing some kind of a word game. It was odd, and that went on for like 3 days. And I'm like, okay. I went for walks, and I thought I was in a different place. I didn't remember how I got in and out of my room. It was really odd. But knowing that that's how I react to medication now, especially morphine, I just know that that's not real and to go with the flow. I'm safe. People are looking after me and I don't have to worry about it, but it was very strange. So, what are some of the things you can look at differently? I'm not going to get into politics, but right now it seems like there's efforts on both sides to try to keep us divided. And what we really need to do is find a way to unite. How do we change our perspective of interacting with people who think differently from us? Whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's just daily life. You know, when our son was born, I was not quite 19. So as our son grew up, we were usually the youngest parents of his classmates. And we had a different way of thinking about how we were raising our son. And when I look now, how we raised our son, child raising children was done differently than it is now. Doesn't mean we were right, this is wrong. Doesn't mean we were wrong, this is right. It's what works for the families. But when you're having conversations with someone, you know, when our son was growing up, there was the big, oh, you can't spank them. That's child abuse. Well, there's a difference between a spanking and abuse. But we were looking for different ways to hold them accountable. And what we found out was with our son was that from very early on, money was a big motivator for him. So if he got in trouble, we withheld his allowance and then he had to do extra chores to earn it back. And that was very effective. It was way more effective than spanking, way more effective than timeouts. Timeouts did not work for him because he'd sit in the corner and he'd be off, plotting and planning and doing whatever else was. Timeout didn't bother him at all. Didn't bother him at all. So we had to change our perspective and change our outlook to find something that would work with him. Now, last year I did some teacher assisting for a week in a kindergarten class. And that's definitely a whole lot different than how I'm used to doing things. And it was kind of funny because the kids pretty much run the room. And I get that, it's very hard. You never know what a parent's going to come back with. And she had many special needs kids in the room. And I'm not the teacher. I'm not an employee. I was there as a sub helper for a week. And I'm a lot older. The teacher was probably in her mid 30s, late 30s. And to me, the teacher needs, the teacher's in charge. So when the kids were getting out of hand, now I can't yell. I do not have a loud voice. Um, so my firmness was with just making sure that they were looking at me and hearing me. And when I was teaching my portions, I didn't let them mess around. And one of the girls said, "You're really strict." And I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "But I still love you guys." I said, "But right now, this is the time to work on this. And that's what we need to do." And the teacher's like, "Oh, I like Miss Linda." And I'm like, "Well, you could do the same." But maybe she can't. Maybe her rules and regulations keep her from doing that. But it gave me a different perspective because I'm not a teacher. I'm not in the classroom to see what they deal with all day, and God love them. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll finish up on perspective. So don't go away.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of today. If you are, please give us a like and give us a follow and give us a share. And while we're here, I want to say Happy Rosh Hashanah to anyone who celebrates that holiday. I believe this is day 2. One of the things I think we need to change our perspective on is how we bridge the gap with people we have differences with. And it doesn't have to be, just because we're different doesn't mean we can't get along. I know that my neighbor across the street, they are the most amazing people. When Jeff and I had all of our health problems, and now that Jeff is gone, he doesn't ask. He comes over when it snows, my walk and driveway are cleared. He comes and he cuts my lawn. He helps me with my sprinklers. He does all the heavy lifting that we need to do, and he probably shouldn't be doing that because he has his own health issues. Politically, we are on complete opposite sides of the spectrum, but we have been neighbors for 20 years. And I'm blessed to call them my friends. And they, if we were to sit down and to get into deep discussions about politics and religion, we probably would find ourselves not getting along. They're good people, we're good people, it doesn't matter. And I don't dislike them because their political views are different than mine. I think the fact that their political views are different than mine and we get along like we do is what this world needs to see. One of my next door neighbors, that family's from Iran, I believe, and they're Muslim, and when they're celebrating their holidays, they always bring us a dish of whatever their meal is. And I think that's so wonderful, so nice. When I was in my photography business all those years ago, I bought Christmas cards to send out to my clients, but I also bought non-denominational holiday cards because not everyone celebrates Christmas. And I don't think it's weird to acknowledge that. So I sent out cards that said Happy Holidays, because even if you don't celebrate Christmas and your New Year is at a different time, as a country, it's a holiday time. I celebrate the 4th of July, mostly because my father-in-law's birthday was the 4th of July. Imagine growing up thinking the fireworks were just for you. Wouldn't that be cool? I love it. I love it. So, I mean, I'm an American. I celebrate the 4th of July, but it was extra special for us because it was Dad's birthday. And you have to know it was really special because for the last 20 years of his life, they lived in Harlingen, Texas, which is way down by the Mexican border. And it's very hot and very humid in Texas in July. And for us to give up our beautiful Colorado weather to go down and see him for his birthday, that was a big thing for us. That was a big thing for us. But look for ways to befriend people with differences. And think about this in your workplace, whether it's your team, whether it's you own your own business and it's your team, whether you're working with a group of individuals, maybe for a volunteer thing. You want to have people that have different personalities, have different strengths on your team. Because if everybody is like you, there are going to be some things that don't get done as well. So I am very touchy-feely, emotional kind of person. And I'm also a very high party kind of person. And I'm also a very let's get it done kind of person. I can be detailed oriented, but that's not my strong suit. So I need to have in my team people who are really good with the details, who are really good at helping us stay on schedule, who don't follow, I get shiny object syndrome big time. I need someone working in my group on my team that can help me stay focused on what it is we're trying to accomplish so I don't go down the rabbit hole. You need to have that. And in life, you need to have people who have differences than you. They have different opinions, they have different outlooks on life. Because it's what's different about us that makes everything so much better. Instead of being in this tiny laser focused area of my life, I get to see and experience what other people are thinking and doing because I'm living it out with them. I can't be closed minded because it's different and that's not for me. Now, there are some places I draw the line. You have to have boundaries. You have to do the things that are right for you. But just because someone's politics is different than mine doesn't mean that they're a bad person or I'm a bad person. Just because someone's religion is different than what I was raised with doesn't mean that they're a bad person or I'm a bad person. Just because someone's skin color is different doesn't mean that they're a bad person or I'm a bad person. We've all been created to be different. And that's what makes this world so exciting and so fantastic and so wonderful. So my challenge to you this week is to maybe step outside your comfort zone and look at something from a different angle, a different point of view, just to see what it looks like. And then come back next week and let me know. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll be back at same bad channel, same bad time next Wednesday. Thank you so much and see you soon.
This has been Loving Life's Journey with your host, Linda Wilson. From the laughter of children to the wisdom of elders, from the thrill of new adventures to the comfort of cherished traditions, Loving Life's Journey is your invitation to revel in the beauty of everyday miracles and the love that surrounds us all. So tune in, be inspired, and remember to cherish every step of this incredible journey called life. Here on Loving Life's Journey,